first moment I saw you, I knew I had to make you mine. Wanted to know everything about you. I didn't want to waste no time. What's something I can do for you, darling, that would make you smile?
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Braxus Photography Fun. Well, in the last hour I just got back from a third viewing of seeing the Odyssey in the Langley IMAX theater in 70mm. And I think this will be the last time I actually watch the film. I was debating to catch it again before it leaves the IMAX theater in September, but this third viewing sort of left me a little bit, maybe I'm feeling a little bit of a burnout from seeing this film at this point. The glow of the first two viewings seems to have worn off in regards to the story itself, and in this viewing here, I was starting to pick apart a lot of the flaws in the film, and some of the things that I noticed on my first viewing, and reared their ugly head again on the third viewing. And that is the stilted dialogue and the bad character development that Nolan is known for. He's not very good at writing in-depth characters in his movies. They're sort of like two-dimensional people that have sort of a baseline kind of level where you just sort of experience what they do in the film, but you don't really get to know the characters all that well. And people online that have actually read the Odyssey and the Iliad were mentioning that Homer's character was actually quite well written in the poem itself, and he was very well developed, and there was a lot of nuances in the poem, in the book, that were written that were not really adapted over to the movie itself. And that is, I guess, maybe a failing on Nolan's part. I guess he was only able to sort of get the experiences in the film, but none of the actual deep character development. And you don't really get to know the characters in this movie very well until near the end of the film, when all that you've learned about them sort of builds up at the end. And that's when you really start to get to know who these people really are. But even still, even at the end of the movie, there's still a lot of character development that could have been put in place that just seem to be absent from this movie. I'm not slamming the movie. I still really like it. I especially like the technical quality that Nolan was able to do with this film. Very beautifully shot film, very well done technically, but as far as the story is concerned, it was a little bit flat with me this particular time. A lot of the scenes blended together with the same kind of pacing from scene to scene to scene to scene, and it almost became mundane at that point, where there weren't a lot of ups and downs in the movie, and it just seemed rather mundane. And I'm starting to see why some people would call this movie boring. Because after experiencing it for a third time and knowing what's going to happen next, and sort of the surprise is gone, now I see the flaws with the pacing in the film, where it just seems boring in the sense of not a lot of ups and downs. It just sort of even paced throughout the film, where it just leaves you kind of flat in regards to that. And on the first two viewings, it didn't bother me, but I noticed it on this third viewing. And of course, that is one of the reasons why I'm starting to question whether I missed it the first two times and just sort of noticed it now, but it can leave you a little bit flat with the story development in this movie. Today I got my second film strip. I'll show you the pictures up here now. As you can see, it's got a picture of Matt Damon in his outfit in the forest with his shipmates, and they're looking for food. And this is the scene when we see the oversized soldiers come about. And the second shot is their boat out on the ocean. Beautiful shot. I've been noticing there's a vignetting in the corners, and that seems to be a common thing with IMAX movies, where the lens doesn't fully cover the image circle or the image frame. It can happen with Pentax 672 cameras as well, and that kind of thing. Today I had to take a bad seat. I had to sit literally right at the front row of the theater, and I was right on the corner, so my head was up like this and tilted to the side, and my jaw and neck were just so sore from having my head cranked up that high for 3 hours in length. Basically, if you must see this movie, I would wait until you get a better seat than, forcing yourself to sit at the front of the theater. It may be theater dependent. Some theaters may be further back from the screen for the front row than some other theaters, but the one I was in today, my head was up like this, and I was really starting to feel it, having my head cranked up like that for 3 hours. So I don't recommend the front rows if you can avoid it. Maybe just wait until you can get a better ticket. Another thing that reminds me of the Pentax 6.7 camera, which is basically the same size and negative as this, is that the image quality of IMAX 70mm on the screen looked soft. And I noticed it the first time. The second time I thought it was better, but I was sitting further back the second time. And the third time, being so close to the screen, I was really noticing the image quality being really soft. My 8K video on this Fuji X-H2 that I'm recording with right now, seriously, I think could get IMAX a run for its money. As far as the information and detail in the image, IMAX it looks like film, and that's the beauty of it, but it still has that soft look, even with a frame as big as IMAX, which is really huge for a film frame, and yet it still looks soft. I'm starting to wonder if Photocam, when they told me the image on a film print, which is this, is actually 12K, not 16 or 18K, which is probably that off the negative. So you're probably seeing a 12K image on the screen, and 12K is the diagonal part of the frame, where it's the whole image area. Of course, it's not 8K from width only or whatever. It's the actual diagonal of the frame. And being that IMAX has a taller frame than what, say, my 16:9 video would show, that's probably where the extra 4K would come from, is probably on the height of the image. So IMAX to me seems like it's closer to 8K in quality, and maybe even some ways closer to 6K, I would think, based on what I saw today. And this movie had a lot of dark scenes in it, and you just couldn't get a good view of the image. But being it was a film print, it was still easily able to be seen. It's just a lot of dark scenes in this movie, and I know it's partially because of the mood of the film and the mood of the scenes in the film. But I haven't seen this in digital projection, so I don't know if the quality differs much in that type of venue. But it is a dark movie, and I can kind of see why people were suggesting the color in this film is kind of washed out. And that's because they shot a lot of the film in overcast days in dark scenes, sort of at dusk, at times even at night. I mean, when you shoot in those conditions, the color just doesn't come out and pop on the screen where it would on a bright sunny day when you're shooting on film. So, and it may have actually been a creative choice by Nolan's part as well to mute the colors a little bit in this movie. I don't know if that was a legit reasoning, but it is completely possible it was the kind of coloring that Nolan wanted us to see on the screen. But again, it's all because of the shooting conditions that they had. A lot of overcast days, a lot of darker scenes, a lot of dust scenes, that kind of thing. And when you shoot in those conditions, colors just do not pop, and they will not be very strong colors either. So that explains that as well. Now, when I was basically talking about 6 to 8K on the print for IMAX, that is based off of what I did a test on the 6.7 camera where I shot a black and white film of Fuji Acros in it. And I also had a Fuji GFX 50S2, which is a 52 megapixel digital camera. I shot them side by side, and the resolution between the two was almost very comparable. I did not see more resolution on the film than I did in the digital camera at 52 megapixels. And with that, I really don't see IMAX being really that much higher res than what a 6.7 negative is, because they're almost identical in image size on the negative, or in this case on the print. But 52 megapixels of image quality off of an IMAX frame, I wouldn't be surprised if that's accurate. You may get better results if you scan the negative off the camera negative and did a really high quality digital scan off the negative. But again, you're sort of comparing one thing to the other. The print, which is what I'm holding here, is always going to be softer than what comes off the camera negative. And it may go from 16, 18K down to 12K, or from what I noticed today, it may even be 8 or 6K. But you're always going to get a softer image on the print than off the camera negative. So there's that. The movie still had its moments that I really liked. Penelope as the character in the film still did a good job, in my opinion. A lot of the scenes in the movie didn't grab me like they had in previous viewings. I wasn't really getting that emotional near the end of the film that I was the first two viewings, but that's because I knew what to expect, and I was probably holding back to fighting those tears that I had the first two times. But I did get a little teary in a few spots, but of course I wasn't crying my eyes out or anything like that, where the first two viewings sort of got to me in that respect. So yeah, I think the third viewing is probably going to be my last. And of course I did see it in 70mm IMAX, all three viewings, so I was lucky to have that opportunity. The tickets just aren't selling out like they are in the USA, so we have more opportunities up here in BC, Canada to view this movie in IMAX 70mm. Okay, well, I'm not saying don't see this movie. It's just the third viewing showed its flaws. You know, Nolan is really not great for character development and story development in his movies, and seeing that today just sort of brought that out. And of course, I didn't have any problems with the scenes jumping back and forth because they seem to make logical order. Like when they jumped back in time to a certain scene, the previous scene sort of set that up and suggested that segment in time, and then they went back to that period of time in the next scene, and it all sort of made logical order to me. So I didn't have any problems with the flashback scenes or any jumping around in time frame or anything. It still made sense to me in that regard. So that wasn't a problem with this particular movie that some people seem to have issues with. But I'm going to leave it at that. Go see the movie, see it for yourself. You obviously will enjoy it more than I did on this third viewing. It's because I've seen the movie enough times now that it leaves me kind of flat. And of course, seeing the technical qualities of the film today, because I had, my attention was sort of directed at that, especially being that close to the screen. Yeah, there's that. But don't let the haters dissuade you from seeing this movie. They're still trying to tear this movie down every which way they can. It still is a good movie to at least check out at least once. And I do suggest you do that. Check it out in an IMAX 70mm theater if you have the capability to do so. Some others out there were suggesting it's not that big of a deal or important to see it in 70mm as going to say like a digital theater. It doesn't really matter all that much. I would question that, but then again, film versus digital projection are apples and oranges anyway. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Leave me a comment in the comment section below if you have something to say. Maybe if you liked my review this time, leave me a thumbs up. Thanks, guys. See you next time.
Is always yours. Something's changed, baby, this I know. Summer rains turn to winter snow, but I promise you for sure, girl, my love is always yours. Something's changed, baby, this I know. Summer rains turn to winter snow, but I promise you for sure, girl, my love is always